Hey Ding Dongs, I'm Jamie.
I'm Richard.
And this is Explain It to Jamie, the political comedy podcast in which I, Jamie, a politically innocent but curious fella from Toronto, Canada, have the complicated political happenings of the world explained to me by my politically savvy and handsome friend Richard Lamb.
Right back at you, you handsome man yourself.
Oh, thanks, brother. Welcome back to the closet.
Yeah, it is 2019, a year that disgusts me when I think about it. I think it's just a very unpleasant combination of numbers.
Oh, yeah.
2019. Like, ew, right? Like,
ew.
There's nothing going on in that number that I want to be a part of.
Yeah, man. We're turning 30 this year.
Yeah.
We're 30 now.
See, but turning 30 had a certain, kind of roundness to it. And we turned 30 in 2018.
Yes,
which is
right.
It just seems like a much more interesting number. 2019 is like, ugh.
Yuck. And also 31 is a lot more yuck as well.
Yeah, 31?
Yeah.
Ugh, no thanks.
Another year older, buddy.
No, I choose to die by the blade.
Now our listeners are like, what? We waited 2 weeks after the holidays to listen to them talk about how 2019 is a bad number.
It is a bad number.
Yeah, I got really...
Yeah. And that is what the topic today is, so strap in, everybody.
Yeah. No, it's not.
No, it's not.
No, we didn't get into numerology when we were... Or what is that religion? What's that religion?
That is a thing.
The
That's
numerology
kind of like
religion?
a astrology sort of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is it a full religion? Would you call it a full religion?
I know someone... I don't want to say their name, but they have
because they're so good at numerology that they'll know and they'll teleport here.
Well, they have a very normal sounding name, but it's spelt all jacked up, and the reason is because the parents are numerologists, and they fixed it so it would have 7 letters in it.
And are they really good at life?
They're for real at it. I wouldn't say especially. You know what I mean? They're fine.
Instead, your name is just Jason, but with 3 Y's.
Oh, you were supposed to say his name. Yeah, Jason, I wasn't talking about you. Yeah. No, we're not talking about numerology. Not today. I want to talk about the government shutdown, Rick.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
The U.S. government shutdown.
Yeah, I want to know what the frick is going on down there.
The government be shut down.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, episode over. No, okay, it's a good topic. They're weird. The government's weird in America. They do weird things like shut themselves down what seems like every fucking year and sometimes twice a year. Why do they do that? We'll never know.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Are you asking me?
Yeah, I'm asking you.
I don't know.
Well, then I guess no one will know. Thank you for tuning in to Unexplained Mysteries of Politics. Let's hit this theme song 2019.
Play it, baby! Okay, here we are. 2019, the government shut down.
Do you know anything about the government shutdown, Jamie?
My best guess as to how to turn it back on is to pull the cartridge out and blow in it and maybe bang on the sides of the apparatus.
Yeah. You have to unplug it, but you have to actually wait the 10 seconds. Most people think that that's just a lie, but you do need to wait for the 10 seconds.
Yeah, you put a paper clip into
Nancy Pelosi. She finally reboots with the soul.
Resets. No, I don't. I mean, no money? Is that what's happening?
That's what's happening.
Pretty much, yeah.
So, the U.S. government, like many governments every year, you have to, pass a law through Congress that authorizes the budget, basically, right? The discretionary part of the budget. So there's, a big chunk of the government that needs to have its money approved every year, kind of just, so that the spending is controlled by Congress, essentially. And there has to be kind of agreement between Congress and the Senate of what gets money spent on it, or else no money gets spent.
Yeah.
And this year, Donald Trump has insisted that part of that money include the $5.6 billion for the wall.
Right.
Which the Democrats, who have recently taken over Congress, as you know, are not down with.
No. But now, isn't Mexico paying for that wall, Richard?
That's a wonderful question, Jamie. And indeed, it is a deep well of kind of smug eyebrow raising among the pundit class in the U.S.
Yeah.
Already, it has been suggested by Donald Trump that because of NAFTA Plus, the turbo NAFTA that he's recently renegotiated, which we do still have yet to cover. We should probably go over soon. That America will save so much money from turbo NAFTA that it'll equal $5.6 billion. So in a way, Mexico is paying for the wall.
Oh, okay. I guess that makes sense.
And if you believe that, I have diamonds I want to sell you, but they're not normal diamonds.
No.
These are they're like diamond seeds. As you know, diamonds are actually very rare plants that grow deep in the ground, but they come from seeds that look like normal stones. Now, the big diamond industry doesn't want you to know this because they want to keep all the diamond seeds and grow the diamond plants for yourselves. But for $1,000 each, I will sell you authentic diamond stones and take you through the incredibly simple home process by which you can grow them into real diamonds, which will resell for a minimum of $100,000 US dollars.
I will give
each.
you my cow for your diamond seeds.
I accept.
Isn't that's what Jack and the Beanstalk gave for the beans, right?
You've lost me.
Whatever. We lost Jack and the Beanstalk. He gave his cow for magic beans.
Oh yeah, that's right.
His mom got mad. Went to the clouds. He confronted a giant. Fee, fi, fo, fum. I'm Richard.
Jamie, listen. While you were out playing with children and learning these nurseried rhymes that you, as you call them, these fairied tales, I was sitting at home memorizing the Canadian Constitution like a good boy.
And we're all thankful, Richard.
No, to be honest, my only real world experience, or like my only current knowledge of Jack and the Beanstalk, comes from the Sondheim musical Into the Woods. So in the Sondheim musical Into the Woods, Jack does trade his cow for beans.
So I rest my case.
So I guess, Jamie, you're correct.
Thank you.
I have to give you this one.
Thanks. So
Donald Trump said that Mexico was going to pay for the wall, and now he's like, I did it. See, look, it happened.
Right.
Anyway, he's trying. So, but that still means he's still trying to get America to pay for the wall.
Sure. So So how long can they go without paying for their government?
Donald Trump literally was like, the shutdown will last years if it needs to. Well, like, again, it's okay. He's been so fucking weird about it. And government shutdowns are not new in America, right? They actually seem to happen. They really started happening quite a lot under Obama. There was one under Clinton in 1995, but there was like 3 or 4 during the Obama years. And Republicans kind of developed it as a way to try to be fucking dicks about things, basically. And now they're having it kind of flipped on them, which is, poetic justice. But the thing about the government shutdowns is that, like, I feel like the wall is maybe the only thing that Donald Trump understands about politics.
Sure.
Like, he understands what a wall is. He understands that there's not currently a wall, and he promised the wall. It's like the only thing he fully gets.
Right.
So he's ruthlessly and single-mindedly pursuing this wall thing. Even though it doesn't make sense to have a wall in most of the border, even though most people who actually have anything to do with the border say you could take half of the $5 billion and invest in like better technology to police the border, and you don't need a wall.
Right.
He insists on the wall. The wall really matters to him.
Now, forgive this turn of phrase, but is it possible that the walls are closing in on Donald Trump and he wants to build this wall as like, if I do one thing while I'm president, I would love for it like to be immortalized in this giant steel slatted thing. You know what I mean?
I think like maybe like
the dude's got his name on buildings all over the world.
And again, it's like kind of like one of those, it's like a dumb guy thing where it's like, I only exist if I can look out the skyline and my name is on a building. You know what I mean? Like, he has no, I don't think, meaningful sense of self.
Yeah.
Right. He has no sense of legacy or accomplishment. He has to have this like behemoth monument to like the deepest excesses of cruelty in order to feel like he exists at all.
Right.
Yeah. And so this is kind of like, and the price is now he's holding hundreds of that, almost 1 million government workers without pay, forcing some of them to work. Others are just sitting at home.
Right.
This is another, funny coincidence is that all the people who are the most fucked over by the government getting shut down are generally poor racialized people, right? Because
Right.
in it, like most of the government employees who are affected by the shutdown are like disproportionately minorities. They're people who make about an average of $30,000 a year at whatever job they're in. So they're not rich,
Right.
and they've at this point missed 2 paychecks, which is a big deal for most
sure.
of those people.
For sure. I could not get 2 paychecks.
It's also stuff like food stamps might not go out, right? Like certain kinds of subsidized Medicaid and Medicare
Right.
like won't go out, right? Those are to the most vulnerable people.
Right. So when you said that Donald Trump has said it could go on for years, is that a joke or is that
No, he literally said that.
And can he do that?
I mean, if the Senate doesn't sign the bill, because it can proceed without, if the Senate approves it, then the president can't fuck with it.
Right.
But the Senate, which is currently Republican controlled, has been kind of waffling on it. Although the actual senators themselves have been a lot less. Yeah, we need this $5 billion for the terror wall.
Right.
Rah, rah, that Donald Trump himself has.
Sure.
So I think that it's much more likely that the Republicans will flip before Donald Trump does. I do think truly this is the only thing he understands.
Wasn't it like voted against like 100-0 or something like that?
I mean, like, yeah, the actual measure to build the wall.
Yeah.
I believe it was voted down. And the midterm elections themselves if I'm like a fucking push my glasses up nerd right now, I'd be like, the people of America have clearly spoken and rejected Donald Trump's populist mandate. But like, the fact is, like, he doesn't give a shit about any of that.
Sure.
He doesn't understand that at all.
Right,
he doesn't really get that he suffered a blow, right?
Oh my God. So this is like, I'm going home and taking my ball with me, like of the highest order.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, also, it's like again, people who like Donald Trump, they're not in it. They're not open to an argument about it. They don't want to hear your evidence. But he's bad at making deals. He's really bad.
Seems to be.
Clearly never made a real deal in his fucking life because like he is kind of on his own, I think, as being the person who wants this. And nobody, like, he's just saying, no, give me the money for the wall. Do it. Give it to me.
Right. Right. I heard some of the people that are struggling the most are like the TSA staff. Now, aren't those? Are those the people? Some of the people that were really supportive of Donald Trump? Because wasn't there a big faction of like border security people who liked Donald Trump to start?
Yeah. So there's like immigrations and customs enforcement people, and those are different than the TSA people. The TSA people are like the people who are working the X-ray scanner.
Right. People who cup your nuts.
Those are like pretty normal working class people.
Right.
Whereas like the dude you talk to when you go through customs is a very different guy. Because, like when you go through the X-ray scanner or whatever, those people are just kind of like doing their job. And you kind of get that sense. But when you go through customs, you're like in this man's booth-sized kingdom, and he is like a living god inside that booth. You know how you get that feeling that sometimes they're just fucking batting you around like a cat playing with a weird little catnip toy.
Yeah. Playing weird eye contact games.
Those were the Trump people.
Right.
And those are not the people who are, I think they're an essential service. And so their funding is not tied into this bill, which means that they're still getting paid. Like a lot of national security, border security stuff, that's all, it gets its own funding. It's like funding is automatic and mandatory.
Right.
Whereas these other people, their funding is not automatic and mandatory. But because they are essential, they're among the people who have been forced to keep working without pay. About half the people who aren't being paid right now don't have to work. They're just sitting at home doing nothing.
Right.
It's about 400,000 people. The other 400,000 people are forced to keep working for no money.
Right. Wow.
There's
there's no way to allocate money to them, like borrow it from another branch, or, you know what I mean? Like
not without the Senate not without the Senate agreeing. It has to clear the House. That's how the government's supposed to function.
Man, what must it be? It must be so lonely being Donald Trump.
Donald Trump literally tweeted because one of the people, the groups of people affected are White House staffers. He was like, I'm one of the only people in the White House right now. So it literally is lonely. He's like on Twitter alone. I guess his family's not there. Surprise. Certainly no. And so he's sitting in the White House alone, yelling on Twitter about how he has a plan to build the wall, but the Democrats have to agree to it.
Wow.
He's like alone in the White House.
Yeah. Oh my God.
There was briefly this like boondoggle insane plan that they would like used the military budget to build the wall, but I don't think that got very far. Like Donald Trump did say they were looking at using like military funding or disaster relief funding to build the wall.
$5.6 billion. What must it be like? You know what what a horrible state my ego would have to be in for me to be like, we have to spend $5.6 billion on this thing and have the whole world say like, bad idea.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Well, not only that, like we haven't even talked about how fucked up the border is. You know, like the border is so fucking whack right now. Like the Migrant Caravan thing. I don't know if that was that on your radar at all when that was being talked about.
Yeah. There's a second one now.
Yeah.
So you say.
The Migrant Caravan is people attempting to legally immigrate to America. Right? Like walking to a border and claiming asylum is legal. That is a thing that everyone. All of the people who are signatories to like the UN agreement on refugees have agreed to do.
Right.
So if you can make it to the border, which those people did at like a lot of personal risk, and it wasn't an easy time, they walked for weeks, right? Then you're allowed to claim asylum, and then you have to have people processing the asylum, and you get to go through a process, and you can get rejected, but once you've done it, then you're involved in a legal process to come to America. But now the legal immigration is being demonized as well. Also, side note, the people who process the asylum claims are not being paid right now.
Right.
Surprise, surprise. And also, like 2 kids died, right? This Christmas holiday. I don't know if you followed that.
No, I didn't hear
2
about that.
children removed from their parents at the border, kept in border prison, died. One of them died of dehydration in the prison.
In the States.
At the border. They were taken from their parents, separated from their parents at the border. They arrived in the caravan claiming asylum, and 2 children died in the U.S. border, in the ICE custody, immigration.
Was government shut down at that point?
No. That's good. Yes, the government was shut down at that point, but the people who did it were not. The people who did it were not part of the shutdown. Right. ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, is not part of the shutdown.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's like cruel, illegal to not let those people have their asylum claims. It is against international law. Yeah. B, it's like
abuse.
Despicable. Yeah, and that's what we're fighting for. Like that's what he's putting his foot down about.
Oh my God, that's so crazy.
It's so grim, right?
It's so grim, so crazy. 2 people died. 2
kids died.
2
children
kids
under 10
lost their lives because of bad decision making.
Absolutely. Yeah, so it's not like a joke, right? Like I think that's why people are so outraged. And I'm glad the Democrats haven't rolled over on this because I really was worried about them. You know what I mean?
What do you mean roll over?
I'm glad that they haven't been like, well, we have to find a compromise. We'll only give you $3 billion for the wall, or something like that, which is the typical Democrat way. But I think that they even see that the public opinion is so against the wall for the most part.
It's just absurd.
Yeah.
It's just absurd, especially when you look at the numbers and see that like most illegal border crossings happen in airports.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's not.
Well, and that's what they're saying. And they're saying drug smuggling is a big thing, but most drug smuggling happens at a legal port, right? It's like smuggling through, more logistically sound means like shipping containers and stuff like that. It's not coming. Nobody's like barebacking it over the border. That's very comparatively small scale and rare.
Few. Yeah.
Because it's hard to do in any mass quantity without being really obvious.
Right. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, cool, man. That's so crazy. I hate saying it reminds me of Nazis, but it reminds me of Nazis. You know what I mean?
It's very like, Nazi.
Yeah, it's just so, how can you...
Well, because it's just xenophobia for the sake of xenophobia, right? There's no specifics about these people who are these people coming in? They're very specific people, but there's no appreciation for that. They're totally dehumanized. They were, when they were trying to get to the border crossing, they were like attacked. The tear gas shot at them. They were fired on by they're just people trying to walk up to the border to say, hey, we're claiming asylum, right? That's nuts. And it's pretty dark. And I guess it's the way that America is going right now. But to be honest, like part of me is like, who benefits from this? Why is this happening and who benefits from it? And I guess for me, people who are rich and smart, there's not that many of them, but there's some of them. Most rich people are not smarter than the average person. That's like totally a myth or something. But the ones who are can probably tell that because of climate change, soon we're going to have a huge refugee crisis that's going to be global, right?
Sure.
As we've talked about Bangladesh sinking, and that's
Indonesia.
Hundreds of million people who need to be resettled. Indonesia is one of the most populous countries in the world.
120 million Muslim people.
Yeah, that's right.
Indonesia.
So like all those people will need to go somewhere eventually. Like putting the infrastructure in place and the kind of mental barriers in place to like hating everyone on the other side of the border and not treating them like humans and not letting them present their case at all actually probably does benefit the people who currently hold power in a lot of ways because they want to hold on to all their resources.
Right.
The moral thing to do would be to try to let everybody in.
Sure.
Let everybody in. But then we have to start rethinking the entire social contract of how we pay everybody.
Right.
And that's what they don't want. Number one thing they don't want. They want to keep their billions of dollars.
Sure.
I know, right? It's a bit of a heavy sigh situation.
Why don't they pay for that wall?
I would love them to pay. I mean, I wouldn't love them to pay for the wall, but the reason is because they don't do anything.
Yeah.
Like
Can you imagine if you just outed yourself as you're like, I'm for the wall.
I'm pro wall. I just don't want I just think it should be private.
Yeah.
I'm a fucking neoliberal. I think it should be a public-private partnership. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Oh my God. Okay. Well, crazy. So this could, like, we're on day 21. 22.
Today became the longest government shutdown in U.S. history.
Wow.
This is the record. We did it, everyone.
And
2019 off to a hot start.
Double that up, baby.
Yeah.
Double that up. I'm going to San Jose in just a couple weeks.
Well, you get to see it yourself at the airport. There's like impromptu food banks being set up in like airports for employees to take groceries home because they don't have money.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll bring some canned goods or something.
Yeah, just give them out to fucking people working there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Feel bad for them.
My, how the mighty have fallen, U.S.
One of the things that maybe was interesting to me is like, why doesn't this ever happen in Canada? Right? That's a good question. Because we have to pass budgets and stuff.
Yeah.
But in Canada, we
are sane.
well, it depends on who you talk to.
Sure.
No, in Canada, whenever you defeat a motion that involves spending, which we call a money bill, I know. It's a money bill, eh?
Did they take to think of that?
Oh, I had to go down the corner and ask my friend Bob and his cousin Dan. We both kicked it around for a little while, but it sounds like what it is, eh? If you defeat like a spending bill in the Canadian Parliament, then it like counts as a no confidence vote, which means that you have to have an election, right? So it means if the government's like, we want to spend this money, and the House for some reason is like, no, then it's like, well, then we need to have a fucking election because you guys don't want us to govern, I guess. And so there's generally defeating a budget is a big deal. And whenever the opposition is in place to defeat a budget, it means something has gone terribly wrong for the people who are governing, right? Because if you have a majority government, you'll never have a budget defeated ever. You'll never have anything defeated ever, right?
Right.
But if you have a minority government and you're in coalition with one of the other parties, elections get triggered. If you piss everybody off, they can trigger an election by voting down your money bill.
When was the last time that happened? We had a minority government.
It happens all the time.
Just a few years ago.
Yeah, Stephen Harper had a no confidence motion in 2015, but then he ended up winning. No, sorry. Earlier, 2011, Stephen Harper faced a no confidence motion. It happens like it's like one of the ways elections get called here.
Right.
Generally,
that seems like a good little safeguard. Why doesn't the U.S. have something like that?
I think it's because they use their weird fixed election schedule system, right? So like that's kind of what puts them in this situation is that like they don't have that mechanism where like when the government deadlocks, it means an election needs to get called. Because in Canada, it's theoretically possible that you could have an election at the first session of the legislature when they table the first budget. If you're in a minority government, it gets voted down,
right? So
and then what happens, right? Actually, that just happened in BC.
All right,
the BC Liberals had a small minority government. They tabled a budget, or they tabled a motion that got voted down by the opposition, who had outnumbered them, and then it goes to like the lieutenant governor, or the governor general, which is crazy. It goes to like this one person to make a decision who like represents the queen.
Right,
they have to figure. They have to make the call.
And the queen's
this
still
is one of the
fucking
ways,
holding it down.
One of the ways our system of government fucking rules. It still all comes back to the queen.
Yeah.
So the governor
They
general.
spit to the north, and if the pigs return home.
Yep. That's right. The governor general sends their third largest son on a boat, and if they reach Beijing afore 2 fortnights hath passed, the government stands. No. So the governor general has to make a call if they need to have another election, which is like really not something they want to do. That's like so last minute. And in this case, the governor, the leader of the BC Liberals, Christy Clark, was like, call another election, lieutenant governor.
Right.
And the lieutenant governor was like, no, or sorry, the lieutenant governor. Fuck, I hate our stupid language so much. And the lieutenant governor was like, no, I'm gonna let the two other parties do a coalition government, which is what happened. The NDP and the Greens formed a coalition government. So that does happen.
Also, DT, I heard the quote, I could do national emergency if I wanted to.
Yeah.
What would that allow him?
There's funding. There's like a budget, like an emergency fund set aside for disaster relief. Like if Hurricane Katrina happens,
right,
there's money, right? So he could be like all of the immigrants trying to get in at the border are a disaster,
right?
And use that budget to build the wall. But I'm pretty sure that would be really bad for him. Like, I think he's maybe been talked out of doing that. Like that and using the military were two things that he had talked about trying to do.
Well, even just seeing him, the way he said, like, I could do national emergency. It to me reads as like it's a total feeling it out. You know what I mean? Like what? How would you feel if I did national emergency?
Yeah,
you know,
not good as it turns out.
Yeah. It feels bluffy to me.
Yeah, I think that it's more about a rhetorical device than it is about actually being able to do it. I mean, maybe if he could have actually done it, he just would have.
Right.
But it looks like it's not going to be a really good option for him because I think
at
it's
this
not
point, what do you
legal.
have to fucking lose, man?
Yeah,
this is the thing that's kind of scary as I watch it. Is I go like, again, the walls are closing in on him, or so it feels. Mm-hmm. It feels like he's becoming more and more alone in the White House, like both figuratively and apparently literally.
Yes.
And you know, he's an old dude, you know, like, how long is he going to go to prison for? You know, like 10 years?
I don't think he's ever going to go to prison.
No, exactly. But like, so, you know, you might as well, hey, if this wall's important to you, fucking swing it around, buddy.
I think it would be just as possible at this point for like a very dedicated group of like 10 to 15 really good White House staffers to like convince him he's living in a world where the wall's just being built and everything's going great. And then just like he lives entirely in a fiction, like the Truman Show or something, where they just build him a tiny little like play version of the White House on like a movie back lot, and everyone compliments him every day, all the time, and everyone's always nice to him, and everything's going great. And I don't know that he'd be able to tell the difference.
Yeah,
like literally, you could do like fake Fox News. It's like, hey, today on the Fox News,
Donald Trump's doing great,
doing wonderful. Yeah, exactly.
Wow. Oh man. It's just like the gift that keeps on giving. It was 2 years since he's been elected.
Yeah.
2 years.
It is 2 years since he's been elected.
Like, what? Just think about that. When he was elected, I was like, I couldn't possibly fully wrap my head around like all the gruesome shit that was going to happen. You know, and now here we are 2 years later, and like literally 2 kids have died. Yeah. You know, and I'm sure there's been all sorts of collateral damage all over. That's like, you know, disastrous. Missing 2 paychecks is huge, especially on a scale of like over 500,000 people.
Yeah, well, these are people who generally the paycheck is like $500. You make $500.
That's right.
Week,
that's groceries. That's like keeping my debts at bay.
And if you make $2,000 a month and you haven't made 1,000 of those bucks for weeks through the holidays,
sure,
that's bad.
That's real bad, especially if the president's like, we'll do this as long as it takes.
Well, apparently TSA agents have been calling in sick in like triple the amounts that they normally do this time of year.
Sure,
they've been looking for other jobs actively. Like many of them say they keep coming to work, but the second that any emergency where they have to pay for something unexpected comes up, they all have to like leave and go work another job, right? It's like,
Right.
But again, I don't think Donald Trump cares about those people because they're generally not the people who vote for him, right? If you work for the TSA at a major airport, you generally work in a major city, which tend to skew more Democrat, and they're disproportionately racialized people,
Right.
Also, like the Smithsonian Museum doesn't have funding, and like national parks are like filling up with garbage and stuff. But I don't think he cares about any of those things. I'd be very surprised to learn he'd ever been to a park of any kind.
Can you imagine if only finding out about the Smithsonian like being closed was the thing that sort of cracked his heart, and he was like, "What have I done?
Our nation's repository of the greatest knowledge.
Who have I become?
Yeah.
Have I become my father?" Well, that's crazy and that's grim. I was really hoping that you would say, it's, he's just being a baby. It'll be over in a day or two, and everyone will be fine, and Mueller will drop his bombshells, and it'll all be correct.
Yeah. Also, the FBI is not getting funded in the shutdown.
Right. you don't
by a crazy coincidence, the FBI agents are one of the affected branches.
And I can't imagine that would shake the investigation into him too hard. You know what I mean? Like I feel like they're pretty dedicated.
Yeah.
They put a lot of work into it. They're not going to be like, they're
like, well, just because he's single-handedly holding back my paycheck doesn't mean I'm any more motivated to do this investigation.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, ironically, Secret Service agents affected by the shutdown. Yeah, so they have to keep working, but they're not being paid.
Right. Maybe, wow. That's going to be awkward, hey?
Yeah, there's probably not going to be any consequences from that. All the armed people who stand around your family all day.
Yeah, calling in sick and all that.
Yeah, I think the first rule of governing is it's cool to be pretty loose with the paychecks of your own armed guards.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. American loyalty, baby. Yeah. Who signs the checks?
Hey. Not Donald Trump right now.
Well, great. Okay, I guess this makes sense.
Cool.
I don't know. Yeah, okay.
You have any other questions?
No. I have like wants. I have desires, but they will not be met with this podcast. The things to keep an eye out now for everyone who's following along are what the Democrats do in the coming days. If they try to compromise or if they hold firm, because the Democratic Party right now is at sort of a crossroads between the Alexandria Ocasio-Cortezes of the party and the Nancy Pelosi's of the party. Right.
The people who want things to generally go status quo and just fight within the status quo, or the people who really want to change things and who are really advocating for like a different kind of party.
Right.
And so how they respond to what's clearly a moral crisis, if they stick to their guns, is going to be really, really important for all of them right now.
Actually, I have one more question. Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, they've been sort of in this story.
Yeah, because Trump gave his speech the other day, and they kind of like gave some
super weird, awkward framing behind that podium.
Not good.
No, bad. But but they also had that argument with him in the Oval Office.
So they're like kind of like the head Democrats right now. Nancy Pelosi is the Speaker of the House, which means that she like kind of represents. She's like the main mouthpiece for the Democrats, and in the House and Chuck Schumer is the Senate Minority Leader, so he's like the boss of the Democratic senators, or like the kind of mouthpiece for the Democratic senators. So they represent the Democrats in each of their kind of halves of the government.
Okay.
And right now they're the highest ranking Democrats in the party.
Right. Yeah. Interesting. Okay, that's all the questions I have.
Sweet.
If you guys have any questions or comments or anything like that, please throw us a message. We are available all across the internet and social medias. If you like this episode, please share it with your friends. That's the best way you can help. But if you do have a few extra dollars to spare, we have a Patreon account, and that unlocks bonus material. You can be part of our content team. There's all kinds of stuff that comes with supporting us in that way. Yeah,
we're flirting with a slightly lighter episode length this week, and we're going to try it out for a little while. We're flirting with it. We're buying it a drink. We're complimenting its hair. We're subtly putting down its physical features so that it lowers its own bar and affects its self-esteem. So that
we've been reading the Red Pill a lot.
Yeah, a lot. A lot. I thought at first it was like a holiday blog, and then I got really into it, and I've learned a lot of things about real estate. So if you do have questions, if things have not been answered for you by this podcast, please get in touch with us, and we'll hit them either on future episodes, possibly future bonus episodes, or I'll just write back to you. Like this one time I wrote a listener like a 2,000 word thing about what socialism is.
It is true. And then like the listener wrote a comment back, and I got it and was like, oh, now there's so much pressure on me to be as verbose as Richard was.
Yeah.
I ignored it, but I think Richard picked up on it.
I did.
Anyway, guys, thanks so much. I'm Jamie.
I'm Richard.
This has been Explain It to Jamie.